The 28th president and the last president of the Progressive Era, Woodrow Wilson was an idealist and an academic. He first attended Davidson College here in North Carolina, and then later Princeton University and Johns Hopkins University. He later became a history professor teaching at my alma mater, Wesleyan University. What a corinky-dink! I know, I'm a nerd. That doesn't detract from the fact that Wilson worked hard at finding long-term peaceful solutions to huge political problems, an accomplishment to be admired. This presentation is called Wilson, War, and Peace, and information on this presentation can be found in Chapter 15, Section 3 of your Orange Book. The objectives we'll deal with in this presentation are Goal 8, Objective 2, describe the turning points of World War I and their significance, and Objective 3, assess political effects of World War I. Our essential questions are, how did President Wilson affect the end of World War I? And how was the war resolved? Wilson comes up with a post-war plan, and this is based on his idea of peace without victory. And if you remember, the idea of peace without victory is that you come to some peaceful resolutions or agreements between countries that will resolve the problems and not create more bitterness. The United States, Wilson feels, has an obligation to help the world, that we have that responsibility as a world power. His post-war plan would eliminate reasons for future wars by creating democracy, freedom of the sea, reduced armaments, and international peacekeeping organization. It also sets certain goals for the world. Wilson's 14 points was given in a January 1918 speech to Congress, and it organized his idea of the future of the world. In the 14 points, he described solutions to prevent the causes of war. Those were the things we talked about, such as nationalism, militarism, imperialism. He recognized those causes and wanted to prevent them from happening in the future. So the important points that he makes in his speech are: there should be no secret treaties or alliances between countries. All countries should have access to the seas, freedom of the seas. We should lower tariffs in order to foster trade between countries. And countries or areas should be given self-determination. Self-determination is the idea that like groups should form their own nations and decide their own governments. In 14 points, Wilson also suggests that countries reduce armaments or their military in order to lessen the possibility of war. Again, he recognized that militarism was one of the causes of war. And lastly, and probably most importantly, Wilson describes a League of Nations. This is an international organization that creates a forum in which nations can come together in order to express grievances. In the second video, we'll describe the various peace conferences that took place at the end of World War I and what happened to Wilson's 14 points.